The Texas Longhorns enter their final year of play in the Big 12 Conference in 2023, and the SEC-bound Longhorns have a very, very high expectation going around Austin right now. This is the betting favorite to win the Big 12 Conference in 2023, and Texas is also one of the favorites to go ahead and win a national championship. So will the Texas Longhorns do something institution hasn't done and break into the college football playoff and win the Big 12? The institution has done that. Or will Texas be waiting for a little bit longer to say again, we're back? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer, which means I am doing your favorite teams. With the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded, but there are more ways than that you can help me support my channel. You're doing one right now by watching the video, and you guys can do more by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, and really anything else you guys can think of to help support my channel. Whatever you guys are willing and able to do means a lot to me. Big 12 predictions are here. 3 conferences down. We got 7 to go, plus the 4 independent teams. But the Big 12 predictions start today, and we're starting out with the Texas Longhorns. Hey, how do preview predictions work this year? Glad you asked. We go through a roster overview, take a look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Longhorn football schedule and giving it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, let's talk about the Longhorns in 2023, starting out with, of course, the most important position on the field, the quarterback position. You do lose Hudson Card. Was not a game breaker by any means last year, but this stat line is nothing to bat an eye at. 928 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, threw 108 passes, and had almost 70% completion percentage. He's transferred over to Purdue to play in West Lafayette. Who returns to this quarterback room? Well, Quinn Ewers comes back. We all know the story with him. Very highly touted recruit in the history of college football. Now, was hurt last year and did make some, albeit freshman, mistakes, but still 2,177 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions with 58% completion. I think he'll only get better in 2023. I believe he is your starter, but not by much, as there are some very talented options in this quarterback room. Malik Murphy comes back. He's a very talented player, as well as a freshman. Don't know if you've heard of him. Number 1 overall recruit, according to 24/7. Really no big deal. Oh, it's Arch Manning, another very talented player. If Quinn Ewers is not up to par, Murphy or Manning will get the ball under center for this Texas team. Again, I happen to believe Ewers is that starter. He's not only the most experienced guy in this quarterback room at the collegiate level, but I believe he is the most talented. However, Malik Murphy and Arch Manning, 2 very good players back there as well. The running back room, I'll go ahead and say I do not think is going to be as good as it was last year. Not that it won't be good, but it's really hard to replace guys of this caliber. Bijan Robinson was one of the best running backs in the country last year at 1,580 yards and 18 touchdowns last year. And Roschon Johnson, very good running back. Also very good in pass protection, 93 carries, 554 yards, and 5 touchdowns for him last season. There is still some good talent in this running back room as Jonathan Brooks and Jaden Blue come back, as well as you get a freshman in C.J. Baxter, 22nd overall rated recruit, according to 24/7. Number 1 overall rated running back in the class of 2023. Wide receiver-wise, you really don't lose a whole lot of notable players. Xavier Worthy was your leading receiver, and in my opinion, one of the best receivers coming in, or one of the best receivers in the nation coming into 2023, does come back. 760 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. Jordan Whittington was your second leading receiver at 652 yards and a touchdown. And then Isaiah Nayer, the former Wyoming transfer, was devastated by an injury last year that kept him out of the entire season. Should be a big piece for the Longhorns this year. You also get another transfer coming over. A.D. Mitchell comes over by way of Georgia, and then you get a freshman by the name of Jonte Cook, who is the 29th overall rated recruit according to 24/7. Another 5-star, much like Baxter and Manning, who enters this program. Tight end-wise, your third leading receiver does come back. Jatavion Sanders had 613 yards and 5 touchdowns, and then Gunnar Helm returns to this tight end room as well. Junior Angelau and Andre Carrick are gone off the offensive line, but you return Kelvin Banks, Christian Jones, Jake Majors, among some other names I could have mentioned on that offensive line. If Quinn Ewers can improve and clean up a lot of the mistakes he made last year, this offense is going to be lethal. It's going to be very, very good. Defensively, though, what can we expect for this Longhorns team? You lose quite a bit of production off this defensive line. Keandre Coburn had 2.5 sacks last year, 27 tackles. Moro Ojomo had 3 sacks last year. And then Byron Murphy, reading the wrong line there. Ovi Oghufo is gone off the defensive line. Byron Murphy comes back, but Ovi Oghufo, 53 tackles. That was tied for 6th on the team with a sack and a half last year. Speaking of Byron Murphy, he does come back. Apologies for the mix-up there, just reading the wrong line. But Byron Murphy, 24 tackles, a sack last year. T'Vondre Sweat had 29 tackles last year. But your sack leader does come back. Baron Sorrell had 5.5 sacks last year. That did lead the Longhorn defense. Linebacking-wise, DeMarvion Overshown and Diamante Tucker Dorsey are gone. 2 very talented players. Tucker Dorsey, 44 tackles, 2.5 sacks. And Overshown was your second leading tackler with 95 tackles, 4 sacks, 5 passes defended as well. However, you return your leading tackler in Jalen Ford, 119 tackles, 2 sacks, and led the team with 4 interceptions, as well as David Jabenda and a freshman by the name of Anthony Hill, 18th overall rated player in the class of 2023, does come into this team. That's another 5-star. Defensive back-wise, well, Anthony Cook, who was your 5th leading tackler last year, is gone. Had 5 passes defended as a defensive back last year. Deshaun Jameson will also be leaving this defensive back room. 7 passes defended, 2 interceptions for him last season. But who do you return? Well, Ryan Watts is a very good defensive back, as well as Keaton Crawford. And your 3rd and 4th leading tacklers come back in Jaron Thompson and Jahdae Barron. Barron did have 2 interceptions for this team last year as well. And you're getting a transfer over from Arkansas and Jalen Catalong. So even though they do lose a lot, especially on the defensive front 7 and Anthony Cook in that secondary, very talented defense. Again, I just spoke about the offense, supremely talented as well. Your head coach is Steve Sarkisian, offensive coordinator Kyle Flood, and your defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski. As we take a look at the Longhorns football schedule for 2023. Any game at home is going to be underlined, and any game Texas has to play on the road will be in italics or the slanted text. Any game in green that you'll see is a game that I have Texas being able to win easily. Any game in yellow is a game where, okay, the other team's going to put up a fight, or maybe it's a very close competitive game, but Texas is going to be able to win, and red is a loss. So without further ado, let's talk about the Longhorns in 2023. They will not lose to food. Apologies to my Rice fans out there. And they will get a win to start off 2023. I believe that is a guarantee. However, going on the road to play in Bryant-Denny Stadium against the Alabama Crimson Tide is anything but what you got with the Rice Owls in Week 1. Alabama is a very, very, very talented team. Yes, they have questions at quarterback, but I think they have a lot of guys back there to fix it. Tyler Buckner, Jalen Milroe, among others. They got really good pieces in the defense, especially that secondary, even though they are losing Will Anderson and some other players on that defense. And then when you take a look overall at Alabama, one of the favorites to win the national championship, one of the favorites to win the SEC. That's going to be a very, very talented team, and Bryant-Denny Stadium is a tough place to play. I think Alabama has the secondary to be able to keep these Texas wide receivers at bay, and I think Alabama, while maybe not everything is sorted out offensively for this team, I think they're going to do enough to get by this Texas team. I think Texas matches up very well with Bama. I think Texas can go on the road and win that game. It's just really, really hard to win a game in Bryant-Denny Stadium. I think Alabama is going to be able to beat the Texas Longhorns here in 2023, handing the Longhorns their first loss. But they should bounce back nicely with a win against the Wyoming Cowboys there in Week 3. Now you enter Big 12 play in Week 4, and the Baylor Bears are up here. I think Baylor's going to be a bounce-back team this year. They might not go like 9-3, 10-2. They definitely have the potential to do so, but that's a Baylor team that has a lot of good pieces defensively. Blake Shapen comes back at quarterback. He's got a lot of talent around him on the offensive side. I think Baylor's got the makings to be a really, really strong, really competitive team in the Big 12 Conference this year. However, again, I think Texas just has too many weapons offensively. I think that defense will step up and make some plays there as well. And Texas wins a close one on the road against Baylor. I think Baylor's going to be a very interesting, very good team to watch this year, but Texas gets the better of the Bears in Week 4. Then entering Week 5, you got to play the Kansas Jayhawks, another very interesting team in the Big 12 Conference. Jalen Daniels, Devin Neal, among some other really talented players offensively, comes back. And while there are some good pieces defensively, this is a Kansas team that struggled on defense last year, especially outside the hashes, outside the numbers. Middle of the field-wise, I think they were pretty solid. Outside that, they got a lot of areas to work on defensively, and that's where this Texas offense will just go to work. With all the weapons they have on wide receiver, I think the running back room will also have a really good day against this Kansas team. And of course, Texas has the defense to stack up against this Kansas offense. So Texas, I think, easily beats the Jayhawks in week 5. But then you enter week 6. Oklahoma, much like Texas, I think is going to have a very, very good offense this year. Dillon Gabriel is coming back. He's got a lot of nice pieces surrounding him. However, that Oklahoma defense last year gives, I think, a lot of not only college football fans, but Oklahoma fans especially, cause for concern. They were statistically bad in a lot of categories last year, and they haven't really shown me a whole lot to improve that. I think Texas' offense matches up well with that defense, especially the skill level to where both of them sit right now. And there are some good players on that Sooner defense, but I think overall skill nature, Texas offense will be able to win that matchup, and it is what will help Texas win the Red River rivalry. After that game, you get your bye week, and then you get 2 Big 12 newbies. I think it's going to be rough sledding for Houston this year. Clayton Tune, Nathaniel Dell are gone, probably their 2 best players offensively, and just really entering the Big 12 conference. I think overall it's a solid Houston team, but they play in a very, very tough conference in the Big 12 for their first year. I think it's going to be rough sledding for them, and I also do think Texas beats BYU. However, do not count out the Cougars. Keaton Slovis is there at quarterback now, again, bounced around a lot, a journeyman, as we say, through his collegiate career. There's a lot of nice talent in the skill pieces around him, and defensively, Kalani Sitake's got some good pieces. But again, life in the Big 12 may be a little rough for BYU. That's a pretty good, talented team right there, but Texas gets the better of them in week 9. Week 10 is here against Kansas State. Now, a lot of projections have this team falling off, and I don't necessarily quite see it that way. I think Kansas State still got a lot of very good talent. They're getting some good transfers coming into that program as well to help replace what they lost. Of course, the most notable loss, you do lose Adrian Martinez, but Deuce Vaughn gone at running back. And I mean, there is a lot gone off of that secondary, which is why I think, which is where I think that'll be Kansas State's downfall in this game. Having a weak secondary against the passing attack of Texas is not ideal at all. I think Kansas State offensively can put up some pretty good numbers here with Will Howard. They are getting some pretty solid pieces again through the portal offensively, but that secondary, man, just they're losing so much talent while they have some good pieces. I don't think it's going to match up with this Texas receiving group. Texas will be able to win that game. But then you got to go on the road for 2 very tough games, in my opinion. And I think TCU is the more talented of the 2 teams here. I definitely think Texas loses that game to Bama, and I think they lose one more game along the way. I happen to think it's going to be this TCU team here. Yes, TCU lost a lot from a team that made the playoff and national championship game last year. Max Duggan, Quentin Johnson are all gone. However, there and a lot of pieces in that running back room. Travius Hodges Tomlinson, that defensive back, a lot of talent is gone. However, when you take a look at this TCU team, I think there are a lot of good pieces to still be excited about, right? The quarterback whose name is escaping my mind right now, that was their initial starter last year, does come back. They still have some nice pieces on the offensive side. They're getting some wide receiver transfers, defensively some good pieces, and that's been a place where Texas has struggled in the past with this TCU team. I think they pick up the second loss here against the Horned Frogs, but I do think they bounce back and beat the Iowa State Cyclones. Close game, though. I think Iowa State's going to make it competitive with Hunter Deckers and Jarrell Brock. However, they do lose some pieces defensively that I think will let Texas's offense be able to work. And Texas will be able to outscore Iowa State and win that game. And then Texas Tech, man, the final game of the season. This is a real Big 12 sleeper. This is a real Big 12 contender in Lubbock. I should say they got a lot of very talented players. I just think Texas is more talented offensively, and I think they're going to be able to get through this Texas Tech defense, be able to win a close game in Austin for the final record of 10-2. This team has all the talent in the world to go undefeated, and maybe 7-5 is exaggerating that floor, but this is going to be one of the most talented teams in 2023. I just have them going 10-2, but 8-1 should be walking their way to a Big 12 title game appearance. That's going to do it for the Longhorns. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next one. Goodbye.